We should probably get on topic. So let's go ahead and talk about computing forever. Now, the first time I covered this guy, he was talking about the God pill and how he's come to see the reality that whether or not God exists, we all need God in some way, and believing in traditional Catholic faith and traditions and demagoguery is required for society to function, regardless of the fact that society functioned without Catholicism. But, you know, whatever. Let's go ahead and see what he's got to say about new abnormal advertising. And, oh, that is not the right screen. That is showing the very wrong screen. Okay. That tells me where I gotta throw things. I understand now. It makes sense. There we go. Okay. There we are. Let's do it. Let's take a look at computing forever. This smug-ass face.
So today we're going to take a look at some advertising in the age of the new abnormal clown world that we're now living in. This first commercial is from Tesco.
So I'm going to go ahead and say right now, if you haven't seen Vosh's video on Clown World and how it exists as a dog whistle, I would highly suggest doing so. If I have the wherewithal and I remember to, I'll throw it in the description of this video. But basically, anytime I hear somebody say Clown World, the first thing I hear is not, oh, the world's gone topsy-turvy. I hear some form of, the world is now run by the elites that hate everything I love.
Let's go. God. The men are so terrified of saliva and breathing each other's air that they act like petrified wimps around each other.
Yes, because there's this thing called a pandemic happening, computing forever. This thing that says that either of these people, who, mind you, there's an incubation period for the virus, so neither of them would know they have it for at least 2 weeks, there's a chance that either one could infect the other. This is literally just them respecting each other as best they can, respecting each other's distance, respecting each other's space, and respecting the fact that either of them could potentially be a carrier right now, as there's no vaccine or anything else at the time that this was filmed. So I don't see what the issue is, but I'm sure you're going to tell me.
And the happy, upbeat music is designed to make this entire anti-human dystopian nightmare appear quirky, fun, and charming.
Anti-human dystopian nightmare. A couple of people trying to social distance and wearing masks is an anti-human dystopian nightmare. Okay.
Disgusting.
We've all made some changes to the way we shop this year.
Yes, due to government and media propaganda, the public have been reprogrammed into acting like obsessive-compulsive germophobic zombies, afraid that a deadly virus is lurking inside buildings, buses, trains, churches, seats, hard surfaces, and in the mouths and noses of every stranger they meet. But the cognitive dissonance is so strong that they also know on some level that the virus is incredibly elusive, what with the fact that they probably don't know anybody who's died from it.
Okay, so let's go ahead and start out that a lot of people do have family and friends that have died from the virus. In the United States alone, there's 300,000 people who have died from the virus. Well, more than that. We have more than the Trade Center's worth of deaths happening every single day in the United States right now. So this, I'm going to be snarky and talk about the fact that in reality, these people are afraid of something they cannot see. Well, as it turns out, we can see it just with a microscope. It's not cognitive dissonance to understand that COVID-19 is a dice roll. It's not cognitive dissonance to understand that this is not only just a dice roll, but this is something that people catch. Friends and family of mine have caught it and are still dealing with long-term side effects of it, lung damage and what have you, even though the ones that have not died are not dead. you have to come to terms with the fact that this is not a mass extinction event. This is a mass disabling event. This hurts people long term. Just like something like polio. It was only responsible for about 5,000-6,000 deaths, but it was a mass disabler, putting people into iron lungs just to survive. It does not matter that it is rare, at least rare in certain estimations. What matters is that it can happen. What matters is that it happens frequently enough, and it spreads, and most importantly, mutates frequently enough that it's a problem. This virus has mutated 8 times in the year it has existed. 8 times, with the last mutation happening in the UK. And that one spread to Australia. I have friends in Australia who are having to lock down right now because of the mutation from the UK. That's insane. Because every mutation of the virus might not necessarily be something that a human can catch. It was, in fact, a mutation of this version that caused us to catch it in the first place. But as it turns out, these 8 mutations are all things that humans can catch. Now, luckily, it seems like vaccines are working on the majority of these because they are similar enough. But also, it was asked in the chat, when did he make this video? Just last month? Here. December 7th. This wasn't made in the early stages of the virus. This has been made after we passed the 300,000 threshold. Oh, there's a German mutation newer than the UK mutation. Cool. Good to know. Good to know.
They can't see evidence that they're living in a pandemic from their own lived experience, and if the virus is so deadly, why do healthy people with no symptoms have to be tested to know that they have it?
Two-week incubation period. 2 weeks. You have to be tested to know if you have it before you start developing symptoms because it sits in your body for 2 weeks. This is public information. You had the ability to look this up. You still decided to put out this video with misinformation. You're an idiot.
At Tesco, we're installing traffic lights to manage the flow of people.
Unreal. I mean, how is this a thing? Seriously.
How is that unreal? If we have traffic lights because of dangers at intersections where cars are concerned, and there's dangers with people being shoved too close together right now, what's the issue with traffic lights being there for people? Like, yeah, it's inconvenient, but having a fucking virus is inconvenient. More inconvenient than a fucking traffic light.
And it's presented in this light-hearted manner, which makes it all the more insidious.
Okay, so I have a question. Which would you rather? Would you rather it be in a world where a virus ravages the country? One traffic light will save the supermarket. Would you rather it be epic? Would that make it less insidious? Or the traffic light, it did everything it could. It tried to save everyone in the market. But no one was safe from the virus. Would you rather it be horror like that? Or, like, which one is more insidious? What's more insidious? It doesn't matter what the fucking tone is for this thing. You'll find a way for it to be bad.
Traffic lights for herding human cattle, I suppose. All designed to manage crowds, make public locations and social settings uncomfortable and less desirable to be in, thus encouraging more online shopping. You can see how this facilitates the fourth industrial revolution. It's just staggering how the brainwashed masses just went along with all of these nightmarish changes.
So, on the one hand, this is the fucking Great Reset thing, isn't it? This is the Great Reset thing. We're going to have this next industrial revolution, and suddenly everybody's going to have to do everything online. Everything was already going that route before the pandemic. Amazon had already effectively capitalized that route well before the pandemic. People selling stuff from their home Etsy shops instead of building brick-and-mortar businesses already showed that this was a way that things were going. Jobs like mine, existing purely in the aether of the internet, already was evident. Your channel was already evidence of this happening. Oh, but no, the virus, that's the insidious thing that's causing everything. That's where the problems are. The virus, that's the issue. Okay. Sure thing.
There are cleaning stations in every store. Please shop alone, wear a mask, and keep your distance.
Human beings being trained like animals in a laboratory experiment to treat each other with fear, suspicion, distrust, and even disgust. Obeying absurd social distancing stickers and signs, acting in an entirely unnatural and robotic manner, as if humanity itself is at war with its very nature.
Then what is its nature? Please tell me. For you to make a statement like that, you have to be able to define what human nature is, without coming up with some vapid non-argument about what human nature is. At the end of the day, you're just upset that social norms have changed, and they've changed around a virus, something that you can't see, so it seems less of a pressing threat to you. But as somebody who's had friends and loved ones who have suffered with the virus, I have no problem going out and putting on a mask for the duration of the time that this is happening. I have no problem trying to keep my distance from people in a supermarket. I didn't want to be fucking near them anyway. Who the fuck wants to be near people who go to a Walmart? I don't, and I go to Walmarts. I don't want anybody near me. There's nobody in any of these stores that I want to be near. Okay? I didn't want to be near them before the pandemic. I've just got a really good excuse now.
And there are screens to keep everyone safe.
Oh, how cute. We both have the same oppressive, unnecessary, and unhygienic face muscles.
It's only unhygienic if you don't throw yours in the goddamn wash. It's only oppressive if you're a perpetual victim.
Which we can barely breathe or communicate through.
So I'm going to throw this out there right now. The only reason you can barely communicate through a mask is because it's hard to... we, as humans, make eye contact, but we also read lips as we communicate, okay? Would you like to know what medium also makes it to where I cannot read your lips as you communicate to me? Dave, would you like to know? I'll give you a hint. It's your two-dimensional YouTube avatar. Your YouTube avatar inflicts the exact same constraints on communication that a mask does. The exact same ones. And yet, that's not an oppressive piece because you chose it. Almost like this was a non-point and you threw it in.
And she says there are screens to keep everyone safe.
Yes, because if I sneeze and my mask is not over my nose, and I end up having that liquid spray go anywhere near that cashier is going to interact with everyone touching their money and carts and everything throughout the entire store. I could infect the entire store if I happen to have it. Duh.
Keeping humanity safe from itself, I suppose.
No, keeping humanity safe from a virus that humanity has right now.
So that's Tesco. That commercial was so popular that there's more dislikes than likes, and of course the comments had to be turned off on YouTube. Next up, Heineken.
That's an argumentum ad populum. It doesn't matter that it was unpopular. It doesn't matter.
I'm going to go ahead and mute the audio on this for copyright reasons because there's a popular song that plays throughout this commercial. So this guy meets a girl in a bar and he's wearing a face nappy and he's about to interact with her in a normal way, perhaps, shake her hand or hug her or something. And then he stops himself and remembers his reprogramming and brainwashing, so he does that stupid elbow thing.
Okay, so this is not brainwashing, though technically a case could be made that this is reprogramming. So, if I touch elbows with somebody, okay? There's a potentiality that I might be sick, so I touch elbows with somebody. Boom. I don't even have to be sick, by the way. I could also have just grabbed something off of a counter that had the virus on it. It lives for 3 days on plastic, you fuck shit. My elbows touch. How often are my elbows going to touch random shit around me? Less than my hands. I don't grab my drink with my elbows. I'm going to do it right now for sake of argument. But I don't grab my drink with my elbows, but I do it with my hands. The likelihood that I'm going to spread something if I'm touching an elbow with someone and the likelihood that I do it with my hands is very different. And would you like to know where I found this elbow trick first? It wasn't during COVID. It wasn't during COVID at all, Dave. It was when I was a fast food worker at McDonald's. This was our handshake on the line. Because this was the thing that we could do to introduce ourselves to people without touching our hands, because we were working in food, David. We were working in fucking food. This has already been known to be a more hygienic way of shaking hands. It's a thing I was doing a decade ago at McFucking-Donald's. Jesus Christ.
And they're all doing it in this commercial, actually. And I think this is about reducing human contact and associating human contact, touch, or intimacy with something negative and disgusting.
No, it's about public safety, you rube.
To me, that dumb elbow greeting is no different to that other authoritarian revolutionary greeting, the Nazi salute.
The elbow greeting that I did at fucking McDonald's is a Nazi salute to you? It's a fucking Nazi salute to you? Godwin's Law, I didn't even bring it up. Jesus Christ. Are you that dumb? Are you that stupid? Yes, of course you are. Why am I even asking that?
There's arrows on the floor of this bar and signs blocking off certain chairs. And then there's a guy struggling to wash his hands in the bathroom like an OCD sufferer. And it's presented like it's funny, like a comedy sketch or something. It's one of those everyday challenges we all have to deal with in the new normal, right?
Yeah. A new temporary normal that we have for the time that we do not have vaccinations for this shit yet. Because it's either operate within this current temporary new norm or stay indoors. Take your pick. I'd rather be able to go outside. Thank you very fucking much.
In truth, some people probably are acting like this in the real world, and it's because we're living in a cruel and evil global experiment where humanity is being gaslit and tortured day after day with draconian mandates, fear-mongering, behavioral conditioning and modification, and social engineering.
Okay, so you just described what marketing does? Just through use of insidious language, you just described what marketing does. That's all it does. Marketing is social engineering. That's what it is. Have you ever watched a fucking commercial? That's social engineering. If you want to be scared of commercials, then go right ahead, David. Put on your tinfoil hat, be super scared, be absolutely terrified. It's okay. Your binky will be there when you need it, I'm sure.
It's driving people to moments of pure insanity and mental breakdown. None of this madness comes naturally. It's not intuitive behavior to the human condition. It's...
Do you even... Okay, again, you're going to have to define these terms. It's not intuitive behavior to the human condition. It's not human nature. Those are vapid terms. They mean nothing without definition.
antithetical to our very nature and
There it is again.
our souls as social beings.
And you can't even demonstrate we have one of those, Dave.
So this woman is celebrating her birthday, and herself and her friend have masks on. And of course, she can't blow out her candles. What are you going to do, right? I've got a mask on, can't blow out my candles. As you can see, the people standing around the bar at the back also have masks on. Keep in mind, if you showed this ad, or the Tesco ad, to anyone this time last year, December 2019...
You mean when we didn't have a global virus yet? Right?
they would either be terrified or they would either have laughed it off, right? Thinking it was a ridiculous parody of humanity or some kind of sci-fi dystopian film.
Can I give you another example of that, Dave? Can I give you another example of that? If I showed this shit to somebody before the age of the iPhone, this fucking thing, they would either laugh it off or think it was sci-fi. It's just a fucking smartphone. This is ubiquitous to everyday living now. You are literally fucking scared of change. That's it. The world changed around you, and it terrifies you. That's it. That's all this is. This is a person with a childlike mentality, growing old, and as they grow old, the world around them is not the world they once knew, and they are terrified. And the only way they can frame that so that other people understand it in their view is by taking their infantile version of reality and saying, hey, if I showed this to somebody from back in my day, I know that this was only a year ago, but the logic is the same, they would say it's insane. They would say it's crazy. Well, it doesn't fucking matter that somebody before the pandemic would say that something after the pandemic is crazy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you took somebody who hates vitamin C, who hates citrus, hates fruit, and then you put them on a ship. And then you took the person from that ship who spent a year on that ship and got scurvy. If you take that person and they're just downing fruit later so that they don't suffer again, if you showed that person to the person before they got on the ship, they wouldn't think they're the same person. And all that changed is they had a deficiency from not eating enough fruit, and suddenly they got an illness, and their habits changed so that they did not suffer this illness again. Michael Conning has it perfectly in the chat. Computing Forever's entire video in 3 words is change am bad.
They would never have thought that this was a serious attempt at normalizing this stuff. Whoops, don't ever touch anything again, buddy. The virus is watching you, and it's everywhere. It's omnipresent. It knows when a person has stayed too long in a pub, and it knows if they're eating food with their meal or not. And here's
nobody has argued that legitimately.
2 guys, sort of like the guys in the Tesco aisle, trying to pass each other, and they're paralyzed by fear of walking past each other. 2 young men, nowhere near the vulnerable age demographic for the virus, of course.
Okay, look. The vulnerable age demographic is the age at which you would die. But there are people who are in the non-vulnerable age demographic who have suffered long-term consequences as a result. Also, there are other factors besides age and whether or not the virus could be lethal to you. Do you have lung issues? Have you ever had lung cancer before? Early onset's a thing. Have you ever had asthma, or do you have asthma? Any breathing issues at all? Have you been in a car wreck and had a lung pierced and you were having to work with one lung for the rest of your life? All of these are situations in which the virus is more deadly to you as it's an upper respiratory infection. And yet, none of these apply. Oh no, it's just the age. The age. They do not look like the age that I assume people would die. Ignore the fact that people who haven't died have suffered long-term issues. I don't know anything about that fucking shit. It's dystopia. It's a nightmare. Nightshade, if you have lung cancer specifically, a cancer of the lungs that makes it to where you are more susceptible to issues where your lungs are concerned later. Your lungs are already weakened from cancer. You are more susceptible to COVID because your lungs are already working overtime.
Acting like they must both have a deadly virus. If this is how you're going to interact around another human being in a social setting, why would you even go to the pub if you're this afraid? Wearing a mask and acting like this is just constantly communicating that you're in a state of constant fear of death. That's not a way to live in this.
Wait. Are we going to have the conversation again? The mask is not to protect you. You don't wear the mask because you're afraid to die. You wear the mask out of respect of other people because you don't know if you're infected. And if you happen to be infected, or you catch something, a mask prevents you from sneezing it out onto other people, or breathing it out onto other people. This has been common practice in places like Japan for decades, and it's worked wonders. Oh, but here suddenly, here it's bad. Oh no. This guy calls himself a fucking nationalist too.
This world. It's a way to slowly die in it. Whoa, 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 how dare you? That's not okay. Don't take one of my chips. You could have the virus. And then me, or some hypothetical elderly person locked away in a nursing home somewhere, might die in an ICU ward.
Has he not considered that her grandma might be home? Has he not... Does he think that old people only exist in nursing homes? That's the... If I steel man what he's saying, then the logical conclusion is that old people are in nursing homes and that's where they belong. Ignore the fact there might be somebody old in the fucking pub. Okay. I feel as though logic is something that Dave just doesn't have. I don't know if he even knows how to spell it.
What were you thinking? So instead of blowing out the candles like a normal person, she shakes a beer mat near them and they go out. Because this is definitely not the actions of a crazy person or anything.
Ha ha! Yes, I remember that on the test on whether or not I was crazy and needed to be institutionalized. Did you or did you not take a coaster to a birthday cake? If yes, prepare for the padded room.
The guys finally pluck up the courage to awkwardly find a way past each other in a way that best undermines the very concept of human interaction. And lastly, my favorite part, the toast. The people in the bar, who are all treating each other like pariahs and carriers of the bubonic plague, struggle with a basic human social custom. No closer, dude. Not okay. You know we don't clink glasses anymore.
Not closer right
The virus
now.
could be on the glass that you're about to put to your lips. Keep that thing away. It could be a toxic bio-waste product due to your saliva being on it, which later the bar staff will collect after we're finished drinking out of them. But still, let's completely throw out centuries of human customs and instead...
Oh, wait a minute. Is this really going to be an appeal to tradition? Are you really going to go and use an appeal to tradition fallacy when talking about a virus that exists in the here and now?
Instead, simply raise our glasses at a safe distance from each other because we think everyone around us is a ticking time bomb of infectious disease, while smiling at each other as if this night was actually fun and enjoyable, as opposed to the soul-crushingly nightmarish and unnatural freak show of terror and fear of human contact that it actually is.
Customs change, Dave. They change for a variety of reasons. You know, at one point, if memory serves, it was custom to take your waste from your toilet and lift it up in a bucket and then toss it out your window into the street for cleaning later. That was custom. That was tradition. That's what you did. Oh, but that was a custom. That was a years of tradition. Why would you ever want to change years of tradition? Years of tradition should never be changed. No, never. No, there's never a good reason to do that. Ignore the fact that everybody's going to die of cholera. That's fine. That's an invisible disease. It'll never hurt you. It'll never hurt you. Never. Keep the shit in the streets. It's fine. Jesus Christ.
There's one thing better than a night out. Another night out. Because if you didn't follow the rules, we'd all be dead or the pubs would have to close or something, right? Yeah, well, this commercial is from July, and all the social distancing bullshit rules didn't prevent the pubs from being closed again. It didn't prevent a second lockdown happening, and there is...
Post hoc ergo proctor hoc. The fact that rules exist does not necessitate that everyone will follow them, and if not everybody is following the rules correctly, or sometimes viruses also do things like mutate and become more dangerous. Post hoc ergo proctor hoc is saying that this is this way because of this thing that happened before. You are engaging in that fallacy. The mere fact that pubs had to close down, which I am assuming is correct, I am granting your premise. The mere fact that they had to close down does not mean that the rules themselves were not effective in some measure. Moreover, a rule being effective does not mean that it's 100% effective. That's also a point you have to consider, Dave. A rule can work for 80% of people or 80% of the time, but that 20% can still be enough to cause an issue, enough for a pub to close down. These things are not set in stone. They are not perfect. They are not... I wish I had more words, but I'm not a thesaurus today.
Restrictions, largely for pubs, remain in place even during this Christmas reopening, so the whole thing was nonsense. Keep those Heineken bottles 2 meters apart. Better yet, I'm remaining permanently socially distant from the rat piss that is Heineken for the rest of my life. Also, in my opinion, that Red Star logo has suddenly taken on an entirely new meaning.
Ha ha ha! It's definitely communism. The big corporation is definitely a communism. I want to die. I want to die watching your content, Dave. It hurts. It is physically painful to watch the ass fucking of logic that is your video. You don't just dip into informal fallacies, Dave. You grab the informal fallacies, you bend them over, and you own them with such strength and fervor that I have to wonder if those informal fallacies are not, in fact, power bottoms, and they're telling you to fuck them harder. I don't understand. It's such basic stuff to get wrong. It's December at the time you made this video. You had plenty of time. You had plenty of area of research. None of it mattered. Instead, conspiracy theory is what you ended up going for. Let's not look at any actual scientific studies. Let's not look at the actual efficacy and the actual usage of masks. No, no, no. Let's take our right-wing radio talk show host persona instead. Let's put on the tinfoil hat instead. Let's be an idiot instead of working around known data. That's what Dave Cullen is doing. No wonder this person took the God pill. No wonder this person decided that nationalism was a good thing. Nationalism as opposed to patriotism, mind you. And if we're going to play fallacy bingo, I might as well go ahead and hit myself with it. That is technically a form of ad hom. Might as well go ahead and be consistent. I'm not even trying to stand the corporations. I don't care about the corporations. 1, I don't drink. 2, I'd rather big corps not be a thing. But, you know, at the end of the day, I don't understand why this is the route David has taken with his channel. I'm led to believe that he used to do stuff about computers and used to actually be a decent person where argument was concerned. But now it seems that conspiratorial fear-mongering is what he'd rather do on his channel. But strangely enough, the conspiratorial fear-mongering is him criticizing what he labels as conspiratorial fear-mongering. I don't understand how this is the direction that he decided to take on his channel. I don't. David, you can do better. You really can. If you end up coming across this video past all the insults, you don't seem like you are a naturally stupid person. I think you can do better. I think. I could be wrong. I could be incredibly wrong. But that's what I think. Anyways, if you are watching this video and you have gained any entertainment value or you have gained any insight from it or whatever, I don't care. If this was enjoyable in any way, shape, or form, please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe if you haven't already. Please go into the description below and see all of my links. I have social media links as well as links to my Patreon and anything down there. If you want to support the channel and what I do, that's the greatest place to do it. But first and foremost, subscribing and hitting the like button are the ultimate things you could do to help my channel in the here and now if you would like to. If you want to catch my streams, they are generally at 1 p.m. Most days. Usually there's about a day or two off in the week that I don't take, but usually it's 1 p.m. Eastern. With all that said, thank you all for watching, and I'm going to move on to the next topic. But if you're watching this in the VOD form, I'm ending the video.